We're out here on the last day of May, and we got a bunch of fish in the spawn and a few in the post-spawn stage here. We're just gonna go mix up a little bit, see what they're doing, put together a plan based off the first few bites, and we'll see what happens. So starting here with a 1/4 ounce swim jig, actually a 5/16 ounce swim jig and a paddle tail on the back. Okay, and what we have here is just a narrows leading back to some sloughs, and there's like a 7-foot trench up here. What I'm hoping is some of those fish are done spawning and they kind of pull back in and sit in that little deep trench before leaving back to the main lake. If you hit it right, it can be absolutely loaded with fish. There's one. Right where the start of that trench is. Right at the start of that 7-foot trench. Nice fish on the swim jig. Absolutely throttled it. Got this 7-foot 2-inch Mega Bass Deimos rod. Medium action. It's just beautiful setup for that swim jig. Can throw chatterbaits, spinner baits on it. It's kind of a do-it-all rod for that type of moving bait. Okay, so we're gonna fire right back in there on that trench. I'm actually letting my swim jig fall down to the bottom in that 7-foot water, and then just start slow retrieve back again. What I like about that 5/16 swim jig is I can let it crash to the bottom and work it like a real jig, or just swim it in, and it's kind of a do-it-all jig. There's one. Got this wind blowing out like a funnel, and that even helps it more. Spot lock is a perfect tool for this. You got to mix it up. Sometimes they want that jig down hitting the bottom. Sometimes they want it just slow crawled, continuous speed. Sometimes they want it mixed up a little bit. And you'll know after you get a couple bites what they're wanting. This fish hit as I was reeling in. I let it drop, and as soon as it started dropping, it triggered it. I saw the line like pop. Gotta mix up those retrieves. So now we'll just spot lock here, make a few more casts in that exact same area. We just came up from about 6 foot flat right up onto this point here. And it looks like there's some beds on the 360 in this area. This one's all beat up. It's all sore. You can tell it's been working by the beds. I'm just trimming this swim bait down so it fits on that swim jig better. And the tail just hangs a little bit behind that skirt. If it hangs way back there, especially when they're in the spawning stage mood, a lot of times I'll come up and bite it and they're grabbing that back end of that tail. And you set the hook and you don't have it, or you just skin hook the edge of the mouth and they come off. So by shortening up there, it just increases my chances. In small areas like this bay, the fish can be on the shore, they can be swimming around out in the middle, or they'll be right next to the cover, like the telephone pole that's sticking in the water, or all the pieces of wood that are laying offshore. Good glasses are a must, and every time you see something in the distance that looks like a piece of wood, you have to make sure to get a cast to it, because there's almost always a fish that's holding next to it. Here's a good one. So we caught 6 to 8 fish in that first spot here. I'm gonna go to a different bay where I know the water temp's been colder than this one all spring, and see if we can kind of hit them in just a little bit different stage, because they're biting, but it's not great. So we'll go see what happens. So we pulled up to the first point coming out of those spawning areas, and the second cast whacked this one. That works. So the top of that point is just bare sand, and there's a nice new weed growth on that edge. So that's that inside weed line. So that's a couple fish there, that same little stretch. Here's a closer look at that rod I'm using. So this stop here, there's a few fish on beds, but they're not big, you know, 2.5, 3 pounds. They don't really want to be interested in anything I drop in there, so I'm not going to waste my time. I'd rather go and scout out some new areas of the lake and try to find some that are a little easier to catch. So we'll see what happens.